Let me let you in on a little local news secret. On a really slow news day in Denver, you can always lead a newscast with one of two things: weather or the Broncos. This is the first time we have ever started our program with Broncos news, but this is also the first time that the team has ever purged season ticket holders of those precious seats. What the organization is doing today is actually news.
We've had these tickets since the 60s. We've gone to the games since then. I used to go with my dad. They were my dad's tickets.
Susie Brink and her family have been fixtures on the 30-yard line, 7th row, for decades. But not this last season because of her health.
I really was uncomfortable going up and down the stairs. I've had a couple hip replacements and a pending knee surgery that I wasn't able to go to the games.
And she won't be there next season either because of the Broncos. Susie was among several hundred season ticket holders who got an email saying, "We regretfully inform you that your season ticket license will not be renewed." Susie sold all her game tickets through the Broncos ticket exchange, meaning that the Broncos got a cut, and meaning that they could also see that she didn't attend a single game. This is the first year that Broncos have pulled season tickets away from fans who have been found to have sold their spot for every game. In Susie's case, the spot where they've sat since the Broncos were really, really bad.
Since the 60s, they can see we've gone to all the games, and we've been with them for, a long, long time. We've gone to games where we lost for years.
If someone else is sitting in Susie's old seats next season, it'll be the first time in 6 years that fans on the waiting list have been moved inside to permanent seats. The seats Susie Brink still sees as hers.
I want my Bronco tickets, and I want them where we had them.
Broncos anticipated protests from season ticket holders who had medical problems or family emergencies or were deployed overseas, things like that. So the ticket office right now is reviewing individual appeals, and we have details on that process in this article on 9news.com. If you're on the waiting list, do not get too excited about your chances of scoring tickets. We are talking about just several hundred ticket holders potentially impacted here. I checked today, and I am number 55,354 on the Broncos season ticket list. But something tells me that if DeMarcus Ware wants to spectate next season, a seat will be found for him. For the Broncos outside linebacker who called it a career today after a dozen years in the NFL. He's going in the Hall of Fame for sure. Retires as number 8 on the all-time sack list. He played 9 seasons with the Cowboys before he came to Denver in 2014 and got that Super Bowl ring. DeMarcus Ware turns 35 in July. He said today that he feels better than he has in years, but this was a decision about long-term health and quality of life. Smart man. Let's talk a little about time, because it's at the center of Colorado's political debate today, so a timely topic indeed. Here's politics guy Brandon Rittiman.
We're going to start, appropriately enough, with daylight time. We all just switched to it. You might be feeling a little groggy today, but if you'd like to stay on this time and have that extra hour of daylight, never change your clock again, you have a couple of friends in the state legislature. Unfortunately for you, they scrapped their first version of this bill, and they've come back with one that's pretty significantly watered down. Not only would the voters have to approve this change to permanent daylight time in Colorado, but so would all of the states that you see in the Mountain Time Zone. There's 13 of them that at least have a piece in the time zone. That means that Texas is going to have to change its laws just for this tiny sliver here that's in Mountain Time. And Arizona, which is on standard time all year because they have too much daylight, is going to have to change to our system in order for this law to take effect. Long story short, even if this passes, don't hold your breath on us changing our policy on time. The next one is closing time. One last call for alcohol. Finish your whiskey or beer. No, seriously, they're talking about 24-hour bars in Colorado. This is a bill in the state legislature that would allow counties and cities to approve all-night bars. It's moved as far as it's ever gotten in the process. It passed the state Senate committee today. It's heading to the Senate floor. It's already cleared the House. This obviously had a lot of debate around it. We'll see where it goes from here. And our final one is closing time again, marijuana edition. Unlike the others, this one's at the city council level in Denver. State law allows pot shops to stay open until midnight right now, but in Denver, they force them to close at 7 p.m. And that's given a lot of business to some of the cities around Denver. Think Glendale, Edgewater. Their pot shops can stay open until midnight. So this would take away that sweetheart of a deal for them. But as you would imagine, the debate over this, with Denver having the most pot shops, is breaking down along pro-pot and anti-pot lines. All of these are going to require a little more work before any of them would take effect. So what's going to happen? We'll know, all in good time. For Next, I'm Brandon Rittiman.
Our next question comes from a viewer named Scott. With all the talk of health care, I'm curious as to what kind of health care plan the members of Congress have. Do they have to pay for it?
That is a very good question, Scott, especially considering that there's been a shift in how Congress gets its health care since the last time the Congress was talking about health care, when Obamacare was created. These days, members of Congress and their staffs no longer have their own insurance system. They have to get their health benefits through a DC health exchange. There are 4 levels of coverage: gold, bronze, silver, platinum. Kind of sounds like what people run into with exchanges around the country. If somebody in Congress chooses one of the gold options, the government does pay a portion, leaving that member of Congress or their staff member to pay about 20% of the cost themselves. The moose that ran down a ski slope at Breck and ran straight into our hearts last week has been removed by the experts. Not removed from your hearts, that would be technically difficult, and the moose is still allowed there. But the moose is no longer allowed near Breck's Nordic area and all of the people that populate it. There were 3 moose that were tranquilized and relocated over the weekend. They have been moved up to the northern end of Summit County with some more breathing space. There you see the operation as it happened. When we first saw the video of the running moose, Colorado Parks and Wildlife implored us to implore you. This is not what you should do if confronted by a clearly agitated moose. Do not ski race it giddily downhill. Get away from the moose. Put something sizable between you and that big aggressive animal. The most Colorado thing we saw today is Bill Nershi, one of the founding members of the String Cheese Incident Band, rocking it out wearing ski boots before a crowd at the base of Telluride Ski Resort. The Telluride Daily Planet shared this video as well as the info with us. Most of us can barely waddle up to the bar wearing our ski boots, but Bill, he's a better man than I. His performance in ski boots is the most Colorado thing we saw today. Whole slew of you smart people pointed out that when that infamous Target rock was moved from the parking lot at Colorado Mills Mall, the drivers were just going to hit the median instead of high centering on the rock. You're right, but check out where the cones have been placed out there. Colorado Mills is clearly worried that with that big rock gone, drivers who can't find their correct lane with both hands will just hit the cars parked in the nearest space on the other side of the median. Pam Hackbarth was out there and sent us a photo. It appears those spots are now blocked off so that they're saved from somebody who might up and over rock-free corner.
The man who wants to be Colorado's next attorney general is ready to rumble.
What fight are you looking to pick with the Trump administration?
Mystery solved. Next found the family of the World War II hero whose portrait was uncovered in an attic.
I just loved him to death, even though I didn't get to spend much of my life with him.
And Dr. Max tells Steve why he should just give up on his beautiful dreams for the future. Stay tuned for an uplifting edition of Next.
About myself in the future and think it's going to be awesome. All right, we're a few months into this new year. A lot of people have had those bold New Year's resolutions already fall apart. That may have something to do with the fact that we are not planning for these things the right way.
That's right, and it's possible to get in the way by thinking about the future too much. You got to think about it in the right, proper manner. If we're fantasizing about the future and about how awesome things are going to be, that actually keeps us from achieving goals. Even if we have a really good, solid goal and we have a plan, if we're fantasizing too much about the future, we end up kind of getting stuck just on like how awesome things are going to be when we finally make a change.
Saying fantasizing about the future, say I want to pay off debt and I want to get out of debt.
Yeah.
If I think about myself in the future and think it's going to be awesome, I'm going to have all this money, that may not be the best way to motivate myself.
That's not the best way to motivate yourself. No, because you can think about how great it's going to feel to not be in debt anymore. Maybe you can afford a new wardrobe, whatever it is. That's not going to get you any closer to the goal. What you need to do is use what psychologists call the contrast method. So you think about the positive aspects of whatever future change you want to make. Getting out of debt, it's going to feel great. You can afford more stuff. But you also want to contrast that with the more negative aspects of what your current life is like. So it's going to be amazing in the future, and it really sucks right now being in debt. That contrast is what keeps you honest and keeps you going with your goals.
That's interesting. So not necessarily think the worst about the future, like things are going to be bad if I don't figure this out.
Right.
But think about how bad things are in the moment.
Yeah, think about how bad things are in the moment, and that will continue if you don't make a good change.
Interesting. Think about the bad and the good at the same time.
Yeah.
Great advice,
Yeah.
Dr. Max. Thanks.
All right, you're welcome.
I'm meteorologist Kathy Sabin. How is daylight saving time treating you? Everybody a little bit tired this week, but you will not be shoveling this week, not with the jet stream well to the north of us. A big dominant ridge of high pressure will keep incoming storm systems at bay. We are tracking a major storm in the northeast, but much needed moisture not coming our way, not in the next couple of weeks, according to the longer range models. Highs near 60 today. We'll see that number jump 10 degrees tomorrow. Thankfully, the wind not a big player along the front range, but still tracking some higher gusts over areas like Loveland Pass and Berthoud Pass tonight. With this next system coming at us from the northwest, all the moisture goes over the top of the ridge, minus the high and mid-level cloud cover. That will make for a pretty sunrise tomorrow. 38, mostly cloudy skies, a mild night in Denver tonight. Tomorrow, a little bit of a mountain wave cloud off to the west of us. Then with sunshine, we'll jump above average. Some wind along the foothills and elevated fire danger as we move through the rest of the week, with the potential for record high temperatures Wednesday and Thursday. I think we will break the record Saturday with a high of 80 degrees heading into next weekend. So if you're hoping for moisture, the luck of the Irish will not be with us this week at least. But in the meantime, the cloud cover, if you get a great picture, send that in.
Thanks. Joe Salazar is ready to rumble with President Donald Trump. To do that, the Democratic state representative from Thornton wants to be Colorado's next attorney general. We began today, though, with Salazar's critique of Colorado's sitting attorney general, Republican Cynthia Kaufman.
She has taken no position whatsoever on these unconstitutional executive orders that he's issued related to immigration as well as refugee status. No position. Silence. The other thing is on environmental concerns. You know, she's filing lawsuits on behalf of industry instead of protecting the people of the state of Colorado. With this administration going after environmental protections the way that it is, we're going to actually need an AG who's going to stand up for the people.
So if I'm not mistaken, when President Trump's refugee ban came down, you were out at the airport protesting.
I was out at the airport.
So for voters who say, I see Representative Salazar, he's engaged, you know, he's out there fighting the fight, but how do you go from the front line of the protest into the Attorney General's office? You're saying you can make that transition.
I can make that transition, and you know what? I think the Attorney Generals are on the front line of the protests. For example, Washington, Hawaii, New York, they're on the front lines right now fighting this administration. And you know what? I've never been stopped by my position from supporting community at a march, rally, or a protest. And I'm going to continue to do that.
Stan Garnett's going to stop by later this week. He's filed some paperwork. He may be running against you in the Democratic primary. He would bring prosecutors' experience to the job. Why would your experience be better suited?
Because I'm a civil rights attorney. I'm someone who deals with the Constitution every single day, and that's what we're going to need to battle against Trump. We've had prosecutors in the office of the Attorney General, and right now we need civil rights attorneys to help fight for people.
Salazar was on the Bernie Sanders side of the party last year. He says he's seeing new healing among Colorado's Democrats, and that's in our full conversation on 9news.com.
Next, a dusty portrait of a World War II vet leads us on a search across several states, and a different mission, strictly within Denver city limits.
Normally when you're backpacking, getting a beer is one of the first things you want.
She's walking to every brewery in the city, and fast. Next.
When I say hiking and beer, you're probably thinking, hit a trail in the foothills, swing by a brewery on the way home, Cannonball Creek, Oscar Blues, westbound and down. When Liz Thomas says hiking and beer, she's a bit more ambitious. She's hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, the Continental Divide Trail, the Appalachian Trail, and this week she is hiking the city of Denver, walking to 65 breweries in 8 days. She calls it the Denver Urban Brew Through. Our photojournalist Chris Hansen calls it a great way to do work at a brewery.
This is awesome. Like, that view is beautiful. I feel like this urban hike in Denver really puts me in more neighborhoods. Yeah. Unless you're on an urban hike or you live in the area, you don't really get to see a lot of the cool new pedestrian infrastructure.
Liz Thomas is probably one of the more accomplished hikers in the community.
I've through hiked the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail. I had tried to go to all the breweries in Denver for a New Year's resolution back in like 2013, and I fell short a few. And by the end of the year, and I was like, oh, I'll just pick it up. And by then, there were so many more breweries that had opened. I was like, oh, I'll just pick it up, I'll just pick it up. It got to this point where there were so many breweries in Denver that I was like, as a long-distance hiker, the only way I'm going to be able to go to all these breweries if I just dedicate a week and walk to all of them. All right, get some beer.
Thinking tasters then.
Yeah, we're going to do tasters.
It seems like you guys have a lot on your plate going ahead here.
So this is our IPA flight.
Start at the outside and work your way towards the middle.
Ooh, what is this? It's ready. Hey, look, there's some water we can drink while we're waiting. Great Divide. Barrel bars next.
How long is this whole journey?
I think it's up to 100 miles and like 65 breweries.
In 2 weeks, looks like?
8 days.
8 days. Yikes.
7, 8, 9. This is our ninth brewery, you're right.
I wanted to go to all the breweries, so being able to do that finally is important. Here's OMF. Especially I have people who are flying in from Portland or flying in from LA, and to be able to show off this city to my friends and all the awesome things, including the beer, is really, really fun for me.
We should note, Liz and her friends bring along a designated hiker every day, a sober set of eyes to keep watch as they navigate our city. And a lot of this is logistics, hitting each brewery when it's open in the right order. Liz is expecting to finish up her quest this Sunday. We will be keeping an eye on her adventures throughout the week on Next because #journalism. Del Bonham served in World War II. He survived his time as a POW, came home, and he passed away in Colorado in 1983. And since then, his name has pretty much vanished into history. So far gone that when the VFW in Fort Collins found his portrait tucked away in the attic, no one there remembered Del or any family members still in the area. We at Next love a good family history mystery, and this was a tough one, but we discovered Del has a daughter living in Texas. Her mother and Del divorced when she was quite young. She only met him once as an adult, but she treasured that memory, and soon she will be holding that portrait found in the attic.
My first thought was I was elated. I was elated and so grateful that the VFW held on to it, that they did not discard it.
Helen Anderson wanted us to thank everyone in Fort Collins over the years who preserved and protected her father's portrait, all of you who offered help tracking down the family this weekend, and our Steve Steger, who first brought us that story, and we'll have a follow-up report shortly. We return with a sign that may make you just a bit hungry, and we'll have your feedback as well next. It's a sign. It's a sign on a pizza box reading "Free Pizza." Photojournalist Chris Hansen spotted this. What is it? First a beer story, then a pizza sign. That's why we love you, Hansen. He spotted this near the intersection of 7th and Logan in Denver. Figured that it's probably somebody just leaving their leftovers for a hungry neighbor. But he captioned it, "Free pizza at what cost?" That is a wise question indeed. If you ever see a sign that catches your eye, email it to us next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext. Gregory writes in, he gets first stab at feedback tonight. Bravo, Brandon Ritterman with the semisonic reference. Closing time in his timepiece today. Also, bravo, Brandon Ritterman for winning 2 Walter Cronkite Awards for Excellence in Political Journalism today. He's too humble to say it, so I'll say it for him. And Rich asks, hey, Kyle, what happened to your left eyebrow? Rich, we have been over this before. I have a wonky eyebrow. There's no way to fix it. If you want perfect eyebrows, watch a guy on a different channel. See you next time.